Hey everybody, it's GauntletX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today I'll be playing another Tinkerer's Cube draft, and let's just get into this one. We've got Herald of Anguish here, which is a great mythic rare. It has Improvise, so you can cast it for cheaper if you have a bunch of artifacts on your board. It's otherwise a big old flyer that forces your opponents into discarding extra cards, so that's a pretty impressive card there. We've got Blightfang for like a Death Touch tribal deck, Eliwick for a deck trying to venture a lot, Blessed Spirits for an enchantment deck. Unlicensed Disintegration is pretty good removal, and it's important to pick that up when you see it, although it is a dual-colored card, so it would tie us into two colors immediately if we want to play it. Other than that, a bunch of pretty mediocre-looking cards. Bunch of kind of filler stuff. I guess Mayhem Devil's pretty good, but that is, again, another dual-colored card, and we did just draft the Rakdos Sacrifice deck. Some good duels here. I think I'm going to just slam down a Herald of Anguish. This card just looks really impressive at face value. So we'll try that card out. I also do really love playing around with artifacts, if you know me well. So we'll see what we have in pack 2 here. There is an Environmental Sciences. One interesting thing about this cube to note is that they have put 4 copies of Environmental Sciences in here just to make sure there are enough lesson cards to grab off of your learn spells. So that is pretty decent. We do have Vorpal Sword here, which would be an artifact in black to help cast the Herald of Anguish. Ominous Sphinx for a cycling deck. Augmenter Pugilist just looks like a card for any green deck, preferably something ramping a bit. Nothing super exciting here. You happen on a Glade, could be good mana fixing, grabbing 2 basics. Some good card draw, some treasure tribal stuff. Maybe blue-black with a bunch of treasure tokens could help cast that Herald of Anguish pretty early. This is a 3-mana 3-1 that comes with a treasure token. At worst, it could get flying. That or the Vorpal Sword here. I'm going to try out the Burden to Aerialist here. See if we can't go for like blue-black treasures. Could be a fun strategy to try out. And here's a pretty great removal spell, Blood Curdle. There's also Multiple Choice, which is just great interaction in general. If you cast this for 5 mana total, it's a 4/4 that bounces one of your opponent's creatures, and you scry 1 and draw a card, so just a really good deal for 5 mana. You don't get to choose what you're bouncing with this, but it is still a good tempo play in general. So I like Multiple Choice here quite a bit, Blood Curdle a lot. There's also blue-black dual land, which could be great. None of the off-color stuff looks super impressive. Dragon's Rage Channeler is, a very good aggressive red card, as is Krenko, although a bit slower. But we're not looking towards red aggro with either of these 2 cards. So, Blood Curdle or Multiple Choice here. I think I'll go with the... I'm going to go with the Multiple Choice. I think it's just a cooler card in general, even if Blood Curdle is probably a little bit better. Ooh, here's Illusionist Stratagem, which is really fun with a lot of enter the battlefield effects. You get to blink 2 of your cards, make them re-enter the battlefield, and get their effects again. There is Reaper's Talisman. We've seen how powerful that card is the last time we drafted this format. With just a lot of creature tokens, all of a sudden your little 1/1s become threats that can close out the game because they just drain your opponent's life every turn and force them into bad blocks if they want to kill them. So that's pretty cool. Don't know how well it would work here, but it is an artifact to improvise the Herald of Anguish out or to sacrifice to its effect. Portal of Sanctuary is another enter the battlefield effect tribal card. Kind of just like Reaper's Talisman here. I think it's just a powerful enough card to scoop up here. Got like mediocre removal in red. Some great mana fixing. Could take Fabled Passage, because whatever colors we end up in, it's going to be good mana fixing there. Let's see what we have. Pick 5 now. Deadweight is okay removal, because it is really cheap. But it definitely doesn't kill everything. Hunt for Specimens is good if we pick up some lessons. But I have not been drafting them particularly highly. Liliana's Reaver, a 4/3 Death Touch. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, they discard a card and you create a 2/2 zombie. It only has 3 toughness though, so if your opponent has a lot of creatures out, this can pretty easily trade down into like a 2/2 and a 1/1 token or something like that. It's a little difficult to get it in there, but if it does get in, it's going to be pretty good. Kind of think I just want dead weight to make sure I have some early interaction, some cheap interaction against the aggressive strategies. Scrap Heap Scrounger seems pretty perfect, being an artifact for the Herald of Anguish, plus working well with any self-mill, which black is definitely capable of, especially with blue in the deck. There's also Ornithopter of Paradise, which is pretty cool as well, being mana ramp in any color scheme, and we're not likely to get any in blue-black. Yeah, I kind of like the colorless mana ramp card here, just the Ornithopter of Paradise. Seems like just a great card for any colors that can't normally get mana ramp, but are still playing a pretty slow deck like we'll be playing here. Spectral Sailor's really good as well against more controlling strategies, because you just get this out before they have their counter spells, and then you just sit there drawing cards and trying to make up for the differential in card advantage there. Just a lot of great cards in that pack. Here we have Chainer's Edict, which is 2 removal spells in 1, although we don't get to choose what we're killing. Hive of the Eye Tyrant, which is a land that can become a creature. Always good to have these for when you're flooding out. Golden Egg. Play it and draw a card. I guess it's good if you have flicker effects, and good if you need just a random little bit of mana fixing. Golden Egg seems okay. It also does improvise and sacrifice for Herald of Anguish. But I think I'm just going to take Chainer's Edict here. Get some more decent removal into the deck. So now, kind of like a Night Veil Sprite, 2 mana for a 1/2 flyer. Every time it attacks, we get to Surveil 1, which is look at the top card of your library, and you may put it into your graveyard, so very similar to Scry 1, although it works better with flashback effects like those on Chainer's Edict, or reanimate effects like those on Gutterbones. So Night Veil Sprite, there's a lot of fun stuff you can do with this. Could be moving into just like blue-black self-mill. But for now, we're kind of just blue-black good stuff, which I'm also fine with. So Wizard class is pretty good card draw. And then it does become a late-game threat, putting counters on your stuff every turn. Alternatively, we do have Horde Robber, which can give us treasure tokens, which is good for casting our big spells early, as well as having a lot of little artifacts on the board. I think I just want Wizard class, though. I think generally it's going to be somewhat difficult to get a 1/3 hitting our opponent in the face. So Ominous Sphinx is just a 5 mana 4/4 flyer, even if we aren't cycling or discarding cards. Or we just have Vorpal Sword. I think the 8 mana effect on Vorpal Sword is just going to be too much mana in most games, but just an equipment that gives Death Touch is still pretty solid. I think I'm just going to take Ominous Sphinx there, though. There's no respect for Dragon's Rage Channeler. We've seen this go like pick 11 each time we've seen it in the cube so far. That being said, we are part of the problem and not drafting the clearly open mono-red aggro strategy, but I'm sure I will end up doing it at least once, because I do that in pretty much every cube. Don't know how good this portal's going to end up being. We don't have anything that has a great enter the battlefield effect yet, but we could in the future. Okay, it is really nice to get an on-color cycling land to go with the Ominous Sphinx. So here we have Cridle of Baldur's Gate, which is, I don't know, it's a multicolored card in both of our colors, and it's a pretty decent effect, making any one of your creatures unblockable for 2. Just 1 per turn, though. I feel like this is more likely to wheel than anything else, though, because it does require you be in blue and black, so we should probably take something between Unesh, Cryosphinx Sovereign, and Mire Triton. And I'm kind of leaning towards Unesh, because we do have 1 more Sphinx in the deck. We have an Ominous Sphinx, so we could go for a little hint of Sphinx Tribal here, making all our Sphinx cost a little less with Unesh, and using Unesh's Enter the Battlefield effect to hopefully draw into another Sphinx. Could be pretty cute. I am down to try it. Now what do we have? Blood Artist, fantastic card, absolutely shredded in our last deck. Direfleet Hoarder, which is an early game 2-1 to trade, and then it turns into a treasure token to help cast our expensive cards, of which we already have quite a few. We have a 5 mana, a 6 mana, and a 7 mana card this early in the draft. We have Spell Swindle, which is a counterspell that can give us a ton of treasure tokens based on how expensive what we countered is, so that can be fun definitely in the treasure deck as well if we get a Revel in Riches. Sangromancer's a pretty decent flyer, especially if we play some discard. Blood Mage is a decent early game drop, giving us a little bit of flexibility, drawing a card or creating pests if we're under a lot of pressure. Cosmos Elixir is pretty decent as well if you can sit behind it in a more controlling deck. I think I'm just going to go for the big, fun, splashy spells here and take a Spell Swindle. Certainly hoping to get past a Revel in Riches at some point here and really go for the treasure deck. Revel in Riches is an enchantment that says that you win the game if you control 10 or more treasures. So that's a deck you can try to draft in this format and really just go for it. So Consign to Oblivion seems like really great interaction. 2 mana to bounce any non-land permanent at instant speed is just a fine deal there. Just a fair cost, and you also just slap on extra value. 5 mana to have somebody discard 2 is a ton of mana, but because it's slapped on to an already reasonably costed instant here, that's a spell that you just cast it later in the game whenever you're flooding out and you have nothing else to do, and you just get extra value that way. Selene Vision's a pretty good draw spell, but I like to Consign to Oblivion here, grabbing a 2-for-1 spell. Now, I do like Jeskai Elder a decent amount. Again, it's a pretty small card, so it'll be a little difficult to hit our opponents with it, but when we do, we get a pretty great trigger, drawing a card and discarding a card. There's also Deadly Dispute, which I suppose fits the treasure theme. If we have any easily sacrificable cards, it could be a pretty good deal as well, but right now we don't really. I guess we have a couple treasure producers, the Aerialist and the Spell Swindle, but yeah, we really don't have a lot of tokens to sacrifice to a Deadly Dispute yet. Alright, well, Nettle Cyst could be okay if we get enough treasure tokens to make this really big, and I could just start drafting straight up artifacts more heavily now. This is a 3 mana XX, where X is the number of artifacts and enchantments you control. And it's also just an equipment that after that Phyrexian Germ dies, you get to move that equipment around. Make any of your other creatures really big. Yeah, that seems like the card that makes the most sense for us outside of the Thriving Isle for mana fixing. Not really a reconnaissance mission deck. Aventurnal's solid just in general, so that could be a choice. But we're not an Inkcaster deck or anything here. So what do we have now? Time Stream Navigator. Take an extra turn after this one, but we do have to have the City's Blessing to do it. Taking extra turns is always fun, but this is... you don't get to do it till very late in the game, and you have to have your 1/1 creature survive through an entire turn to do it, because it doesn't have haste. So probably one of the weakest extra turn cards on Arena, but it's probably better than that. They put that in the cube than if they had put any better extra turn cards, because those can get very repetitive to play against. So I'm going to take the Foreboding Fruit there. Getting a food token, we can use that food token to sacrifice to our Herald of Anguish, and if we get it, a Deadly Dispute as well. So just a draw spell that gives us a little piece of sacrificial fodder seems like a pretty good deal. Snow Day could be decent here, but I do really like picking up the good mana fixing when it's available. Just making sure our mana base is as good as possible. Yeah, and Snow Day just looks okay to me. Watery Grave is just definitely excellent. We do wield a Cridle, so we'll slap that in here, try it out. Suppose we could play a Daredevil Dragster instead, but I don't know, it doesn't make a ton of sense for this deck. So let's see, 4 mana enchant creature, it becomes... or no, it just... they have to sacrifice it and we get a 1/1 mirror. Alright, well I'll take that over the reanimation spell. I don't think we're going Reanimator here. We don't have anything that we can discard to reanimate. Alright, and now we are in the final pack. It's not looking likely that we'll get a Revel in Riches or a lot of treasure production to work with it. But we can still hold on hope. We could take a Gold Vein pick just for treasure production, but I kind of like Flood of Tears here. 6 mana is a good amount, but this does just completely reset the board. Lets you cast something for free when you do it if you have enough non-land permanents out. Yeah, I like the Flood of Tears as just a safety valve, like an oh crap button. So I will try that out here. Witch of the Moors is a great card, but it is for a life gain deck, and we do not have a lot of life gain yet. So what do we have now? Actually, the most interested in Thryx here. 5 mana for a 4/5 Flash Flyer that makes our other spells with mana value 5 or greater cost 1 less and be uncounterable. Seems like really good for our deck, because that's kind of what we're doing. We're just using a bunch of random cheap interaction, like Chainer's Edict, Deadweight, Consign to Oblivion, to try to survive the early game, and then just slam down like some big Sphinxes, or a big old Herald. Just a bunch of big flyers, really. So we're kind of like blue-black control, dropping down late-game flyers to close things out. Well, Malphite Squad does fabricate a servo for still looking for a massive treasure or artifact theme, and I don't think that we are, though. Hypnotic Spectre is probably the best creature here. I mean, this is just a classically incredibly powerful card. 3 mana for a 2/2 flyer is already fine, and when it deals damage to an opponent, they have to discard a card at random. That part is just absurd. Not only forcing them to discard every time it hits them, but forcing them to discard at random can be absolutely brutal. That can just take out the linchpins of their strategy one by one. So really good card there. So we have a Putrid Goblin here if we want just like a persistent blocker. We have Chart a Course for more early game card draw. Kel's the Fight Fixer if we want to sacrifice a bunch of creatures, but we don't have a lot of good creatures to sacrifice, so I don't think this is for us here. Would have been fine in our black-red sacrifice deck. Got 11 creatures here. I kind of just want to Chart a Course, to be honest, because I don't think this is the kind of deck where we want like a full 17 creatures like you would in a more aggressive deck. I think we would just want more cheap spells to cast in the meantime and then try to win the game by just casting 1 or 2 big creatures rather than a ton of creatures overall. There is a Drakehaven here, which is really good with cycling and decent with discarding. I think I'm going to take the Drakehaven here and try my best to get it to work, because it's really good if you can get it to work. It might be too late for it, though. Let's see, we have Chart a Course will make us discard, Jeskai Elder makes us discard. We have some Cyclers, Reconnaissance Mission. I guess that's it. But now I really want to take cycling and discard spells very highly. So we have a blue-black dual land. We have a Skullport Merchant, great card for the Treasure Tribal. Heartless Pillage for making our opponent discard. Waker of Waves that we can discard, which also functions with our Drakehaven. I think I'll take the Waker of Waves here. We've got 2 blue-black dual lands already, so we're doing well there. And we didn't get a boatload of treasure stuff, so I don't think the Merchant's that great here. There's Shimmer Dragon, another card for like the artifact token tribal. Kind of like trying out the Mirari Conjecture here. 3 instants and 6 sorceries. This is like just a great value spell. Pick up an instant, then pick up a sorcery, and then on the 3rd mode, you're doubling every instant or sorcery you cast that turn. Can be pretty good. Plunderer or a gigantic draw spell. I guess I'll take a gigantic draw spell here. And we'll not play any of these cards. Could play a Whirler Rogue. 4 mana for 4 power and toughness, spread amongst 3 creatures. A 2/2 and 2 1/1 flyers. I mean, that's a pretty good deal for the cost. Malphus Squad, 4 power and 2 toughness. A 3/1 and a 1/1. Or the Gourmand here. Take the Gourmand. We're probably cutting the Gourmand, but we're probably cutting the Malphus Squad as well. Well, Hollow One does cycle to work with our Drakehaven, but we might end up cutting that. So I'm not certain we get to go the Drakehaven route here, just showed up too late. As well as a lot of the Treasure Tribal cards showed up in that last pack. So a lot of the things that we could have been doing just showed up too late to really zero in on those synergies. So we're kind of just blue-black good stuff here. Not a boatload of synergy in the deck. So we have 16 creatures here. We can definitely cut some creatures for this sort of strategy. Not super doing the treasure thing anymore, although just getting a treasure token by itself could be a good deal for us just because of the large amount of expensive stuff in the deck. Although I think I will be cutting a Gourmand. So we'll put those in the maybe pile, put Hollow One there as well. Definitely cutting Hollow One if we're cutting Drakehaven. Actually doesn't seem like a Reaper's Talisman deck. We just don't have a ton of little tokens to throw that onto. But even just throwing this onto flyers, getting that life drain could be good. So put it in maybe. I'm not just going to immediately cut it. I think we have better card draw than the Warlock class, and it costs a lot of mana to get it to level 3, so by then we're hopefully just killing them with a big flyer. So I don't love Warlock class here. I like Wizard class better for just the draw 2 immediate impact. Don't love Drakehaven here. We just don't have a ton of cycling. Don't love Portal of Sanctuary. Don't have a lot of Enter the Battlefield effects. We do have Whirler Rogue, but that's pretty much it. Yeah, we can't afford to run Portal of Sanctuary then. Just going to immediately make that the first cut of the deck. Nettle Cyst isn't going to work out super well here either. As much as I love my artifacts and artifact tokens, we have 4 artifacts and 7 enchantments. I guess that's 11 cards to work with the Nettle Cyst right now, but we're probably cutting some enchantments and artifacts here like Drakehaven, Warlock class, Hollow One. I don't think Nettle Cyst will work out, but I guess I won't cut it quite yet. If we cut Drakehaven, we definitely cut Reconnaissance Mission. Because I'm probably lowering to a pretty low creature count where spending 4 mana to get this thing out is not going to be the greatest because we're just rarely going to draw more than 1 or 2 cards off of it. Maybe Mirari Conjecture and Spell Swindle are a bit slow. Consign to Oblivion is definitely fine because we just cast Consign. There will be plenty of games where we don't even cast Oblivion, we just run Consign. So we have 51 cards. We need to cut 11. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I could cut everything that I put in the maybe piles, and then I still have to cut 1 more card. I guess we probably have enough just cheap early game interaction. We don't really need a Flood of Tears in here. As the big old safety valve. So yeah, I could see just cut that, cut all these. And that's just everything that immediately came to mind as probable cuts. Yeah, this looks pretty alright to me. Kind of like blue-black flyers, blue-black good stuff. Our curve, if you don't separate it by creatures, because these are all cards we can cast on turn 2 and 3, you know, just to draw a spell or a little sacrifice effect, is actually pretty good. I mean, Finale of Revelation's another massive late game card, but Other than that, the deck is not as slow as it looked when we separated by creatures there. So this is kind of like the actual curve. Like we played Terramander turn 1, Deadweight, probably more of a turn 2, turn 3 play to kill their first creature, if we're being honest. So we'll just throw that on turn 3. But then pretty much every 2-drop we have should be able to get cast on around turn 2 or turn 3. Consign and Trader's Edict maybe a little bit later. Then turn 3, pretty much all these we can just slam down turn 3. Yeah, not a bad curve at all. Looks like a bunch of pretty reasonable cards. Pretty good stuff here. Yeah, looks like a pretty good deck. I'm going to put some fancy lands in here because I didn't do that last time. And I do enjoy my Bolas lands. And we'll go ahead and give the deck a name, but I have no idea what to name this one because it is not just a clear synergy like the last deck was. How many cards do we have to combo with our Bonder's Enclave? Actually, we should double check that before we finalize the deck. Because if we don't have a lot, then it's going to be more worth it to just play a colored land like an island or a swamp, because having this tap for a colorless can hose us sometimes. Sometimes we'll only have 3 lands in hand, we'll just have an island, a swamp, and a Bonder's Enclave, and then we just don't get to cast cards like Hypnotic Spectre turn 3. So we do definitely want to make sure we have enough creatures with power 4 or greater that the secondary effect of this card is worth it, because tapping for colorless mana is a real cost. 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 cards that'll combo with it. That's pretty decent, but at the same time, I think our deck's doing pretty good on card draw in the first place. We have Chart a Course, Jeskai Elder, Nightveil Sprite sort of by scrying. I guess Jeskai Elder is only sort of by drawing and discarding. But yeah, Chart a Course, Wizard class, Foreboding Fruit, and Multiple Choice draws a card. Finale of Revelation draws a bunch. Unesh draws a couple. Yeah, we're doing fine on card draw. We don't need the Bonder's Enclave. Let's get that out of here to help our mana base get more colored mana in here. So 14 blue cards, 10 black cards. 7 blue and 7 black right now? Yeah, just throw one more island in here then. Although, I guess we do have to take into account that we need our black mana earlier than we need our blue mana. We don't need double blue until turn 4 at the earliest, but we do need double black on turn 3 and turn 4. So we could go with 8 black sources instead of blue sources, because yeah, when you look at the distribution of our blue cards to black cards, got quite a few black cards in the mid-range pile, 2 of which require double black, and then we have quite a few of the blue cards that we have that are contributing to the total number of blue cards are just like really expensive, so we could wait to have double blue for all this stuff. I'm actually going to throw in one more swamp for that reason. Alright. I think we call it a day here. So I don't know if there's more than 2 Sphinxes in this cube, but we have 2 Sphinxes in the deck, so I'm just going to call it Sphinx Tribal. This is probably the closest I'll ever get to drafting a Sphinx Tribal deck, just by having 2 Sphinxes in here, one of which does do Sphinx Tribal things. So while it may not technically be what the deck is doing, it's the coolest thing the deck is doing. Ooh, turn 3 Hypnotic Spectre here. Don't mind if I do, seems like a great way to start things off. Save my pathway for later, see if I draw a swamp naturally, and then I can play this as a blue source, and then we have double blue and double black. I actually don't need the Ornithopter of Paradise here, but it would let me cast the Ominous Sphinx turn 4. I think casting Ominous Sphinx turn 4 is going to be a little stronger than surveilling a couple turns off the Nightveil Sprite, It's very close though, because Surveilling is a powerful effect. Plus we would be doing a bit of damage with the Sprite. We do hit a Watery Grave here, so we will have double blue and double black no matter what we put the pathway on. Go ahead and put the pathway on black here then. Cast our Hypnotic Spectre. Get that attacking them so we can start shredding their hand away, hopefully. They are on red-green here, though, so they could have a fight spell or a burn spell to clear out the Hypnotic Spectre. And that would not be great for us. I have to keep reminding myself that it's 4 in the morning and I need to quiet down a little bit, so... We're having another chill, quiet draft today. Just due to the time that I have to be able to record today. So Earthshaker Kenra coming out here is pretty brutal. It's going to shut off the Spectre from blocking to get in for pretty much 5 guaranteed unless I chump block with Ornithopter. No blocks it is, go down to 15 here. Wasn't really going to plan on trading with the Hypnotic Spectre anyway, so I guess it wasn't that bad that they shut off the block, but getting a 2-1 haste there is pretty aggressive. So we can cast our Ominous Sphinx if I play Watery Grave untapped, but I am taking 2 extra damage to do that. If I don't play that, I guess I could play Terramander. Even with 1 toughness, that's enough to, or even with 1 power, that's enough to trade into one of these. So I kind of like just slamming down a Terramander and casting a Trader's Edict here to get rid of one of their creatures. Just try to deal with their aggression here rather than play some cards of our own. Ooh, and we got them to discard a Ripjaw Raptor. Really nice work from Hypnotic Spectre there. Alright, and they sacrifice the Earthshaker Kenra because that can come back from the grave for 6 mana. They'll bring it back as a 4/4. Which will not be fun for us to deal with. I suppose I could still play Watery Grave here to cast her Nightveil Sprite. Might actually be worth it. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do that. I definitely don't think we want to just slam down a single 4/4 this turn. So I like the Chainer's Edict plus multiple blockers play better. Or Chainer's Edict plus a single blocker, that way we play Watery Grave tapped and don't take any extra damage. Because I'm definitely scared about taking extra damage against the aggressive deck here. But we went ahead and took it. No fear. Fiery Temper to blow up the Hypnotic Spectre. Well, all in all, it did a decent job, got a nice 2-for-1. We took out their Ripjaw Raptor and their Fiery Temper. Well, Ominous Sphinx it is, with a Waker of Waves in hand to discard to it. Seems pretty good. Probably attack with Nightveil Sprite here, hold up Terramander as a blocker. Just in case they kill our Ominous Sphinx. I guess I just take 3. Like, if they spend all their mana to kill our 4/4 here, then they just hit us for 3. Yeah, we'll get full aggro here. Surveil with our Nightveil Sprite, getting a land into our grave. I suppose we could keep the land, because I do kind of want to make it to 7 mana for Chainer's Edict and Waker of Waves. But I think with an Ominous Sphinx on the board, it's good enough to just discard this Waker of Waves. I'm kind of interested in just hitting more cheap cards, but I guess we do have to take into account what's in our deck. We have more 7 mana cards in the deck, so I probably should be keeping lands for now. Even if my instinct wants to throw them all into the graveyard. So an Esika's Chariot from our opponent. Couple cats, and they can crew this as a 4/4 and make more cats every time it attacks. Pretty threatening. I like playing Krydle here. and then holding up Waker of Waves, because the 2 mana to discard it will at instant speed give something like their Esika's Chariot -2, make it a 2/4, and then we can block it with our Sphinx and shred it. I guess we have to hold back Ominous Sphinx to do that, which is a bit of a bummer, but I think it's just too risky to send that in as well, because then we're holding up a 0/2 and a 1/3. They guaranteed get an attack off with this, create another token. If the Chariot just keeps rolling in, it's going to be a really bad time for us. So the question really is, how much do we think that we can outrace our opponent? Because we could send in for a full 6 damage here, put him down to 10, but then we're definitely taking a pretty hefty crackback, so I don't think I really like that. I think I just send these 2 in, and we're not going to spend the 2 here. Let's see what we surveil into. Sangromancer seems great. Another flyer here, and it can gain a bunch of life as creatures are dying. So if they hit another land here, they could just slam down an Earthshaker Kenra, try to stop our Ominous Sphinx from blocking, but we can respond with Waker Waves getting cycled to the Sphinx. Nayeth of the Dire Hunt. Whenever one of their creatures becomes blocked, they draw a card. Or whenever they fight, they draw a card. Really nice card draw engine here. Because it's not like we can sit here and not block things. Alright, so they're going to crew the Chariot to send in, get another copy of a cat. We'll go ahead and kill the Chariot with our Sphinx, but now, because they have Nayeth out, they will be drawing a card when we make that block. Undercity's Embrace is pretty bad when they have a bunch of 2/2s out. We're going to keep the Sangromancer. So luckily, Nayeth only triggers once per combat step, even if I block with 1,000,000 creatures, so we do get to get that Crydal block off without them drawing an extra card. Do I want to flash in a Thrix or just cast Sangromancer? So I hit for 4, 5, 6. I hit for 6 here, they go down to 8. If I flash in a Thrix, we have Lethal in the Sky next turn, and they might not expect it. So if we survive one more turn here, we're good. I think I flash in Thrix here, because it's pretty likely they just like play a land and slam down Earthshaker Kenra trying to get lethal. And then we get to play a 4/5 to block their 4/4 Kenra, which is just excellent. Whereas if we just slam down Sangromancer, if they slam down a Kenra, then Sangromancer just can't block anyway, so it just doesn't help us on the defensive that much. So there's Volcanic Salvo to go ahead and kill the Ominous Sphinx and the Crydal, so we no longer have lethal next turn. We're only hitting for 6. That's not good at all. Well, and they have enough creatures out to cast it for only 2 mana. Really solid removal there. Okay, so now we have to block the cat token, so if I flash in a Thrix, it's just going to block the cat, but it will survive with 5 toughness against 4. We take 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We don't die, but we will die in another turn. I think they just win the race here because they had the kill 2 creatures removal spell, the 2-for-1 removal. If we had either of these 2 creatures left behind, we would still win the race after this. That is unfortunate. I guess we have to top deck super well here. but we might be able to find something. So we have no choice but to block the cat from both Nath's ability and our life total. If we blocked anything other than the cat, we'd be dead here. So Terramorphic Expanse, grabbing another land for our opponent so that they can cast Earthshaker Kenra here. So we need to find lethal here, and currently we have 6 damage. Wizard class is the draw, not going to get there. They have 4 attackers, we have 4 blockers. We could have 5 blockers to their 5 attackers, but because of Earthshaker Kenra's ability, they shut off a blocker next turn. They have the 6 mana to do so. So we are just dead if we pass to them, even if we play a 4th blocker. Don't have the mana to adapt Terramander here. It costs 1 more mana to do so. A blue and 5 right now, because we've got 2 in our grave. I guess if we hit an instant or sorcery on the top of our deck, we can throw it into the graveyard and adapt Terramander, because it is instant speed to do so. Okay, I'm going to full control, so I make sure that I have the opportunity to do that if we hit one. Surveil 1. Alright, well, it's just a land, so we're dead. But we had hopes and dreams. We had a chance there. So I guess surveilling the lands to the grave pretty aggressively there did end up costing me, because we ended up with enough instants and sorceries in our grave to have adapted that that Terramander had we had 1 more mana. And adapting the Terramander would have gotten lethal there. So in the future, I'm going to leave more lands around with the Nightveil Sprite until we hit like our 7 mana, then I'll start tossing them in the grave. Is it better to surveil one or to draw a card and discard a card? I don't know, I'm going to cast the Nightveil Sprite. Probably better to draw a card, discard a card. But Nightveil Sprite gets in even if they play some blockers here, and the first land they played is red-white, which red-white decks tend to have a lot of cheap creatures. So it's very likely they're going to get something early game that can block our Jeskai Elder. Alright, we definitely need another blue source here. We don't need another black source. I am going to, after saying that I was going to start keeping lands, I'm not going to keep a 4th black source when I'm really looking for blue mana here. If I don't hit the blue mana next turn, I do get to cast Sangromancer, so we're not out of it just yet. We can wait a little while to hit the blue source, but we're definitely digging for it. Dancing Sword. Equipped creature gets +2/+1. When equipped creature dies, they can turn the sword into a 2/1 flyer. Alright. Well, we're just taking the damage for now, so it looks like red-white equipment is our opponent's sort of theme here. We are definitely digging for a blue source still, so I kind of like just attacking all. Alright, there's the blue source. We'll draw it and discard this swamp. So do we cast a 3/3 flyer that potentially gains us life throughout the game, or a 2/2 that comes with a couple flyers? Just can't get any extra toughness, right? Yeah. Kind of like the spreading out our board here, because I would much rather block their 3/2 with a 2/2 on the ground than with a 3/3 in the sky, and I don't really want to just keep getting slapped here. So I think that Whirler Rogue blocks pretty well. It does have a pretty decent ability, being able to make things unblockable, but I think it's more worth it to just stop all their attacks for now. Trade with that Blazing Rootwalla. See if they want to turn the Dancing Sword into a flyer. They do not. They cast a Neheb, Dreadhorde Champion, a 5/4 trample on the ground. When it deals combat damage to us, they can discard a bunch of cards and get a bunch of mana. And draw a bunch of cards. Cool. Well, that will stop all the Jeskai Elder attacks, but we can keep getting in there in the sky, and because that has trample, there's not much reason to hold back any chump blockers. Could trade that for Thrix, that could be okay. I'm going to hold up for Thrix either way, but I'm not sure if we're going to make the trade or not. If they equip it with the Dancing Sword, then we can't. Alright, well. I guess we could cast Thrix and double block it. That seems like a pretty bad deal. I think I just take the 7, let them do what they want with their discard and draw here, and just try to outrace them. It's definitely not worth it to chump block 2 damage. And I don't think it's worth a 2-for-1 trade, trading Thrix and the Elder to kill Neheb. So we're going to hit for 7 in this guy next turn. So they're dead in 2 swings, take 7 2 turns in a row. Golden Guardian. So next turn they can use the 2-mana effect to fight their 7/5. The Guardian will die and they can start making a bunch of 4/4s. Alright, they're on the ground and they make them pretty slowly, so we're very okay with that right now. Yeah, as it stands, Golden Guardian's too slow to be a problem for us. Still feeling pretty good. Chart a course, draw 2 cards. Cost 2 mana to do it. I guess we could cast Chart a Course and Sangromancer next turn, or Chart a Course and Hypnotic Spectre, either way. Sure. Should play the more expensive card here, because we are just trying to get lethal in this guy, so I don't think that the combat damage effect of Hypnotic Spectre matters too much here. Just get the extra power out instead. Plus we might gain a life or 2 here. If they use Neheb's ability, we definitely gain some life. If they choose to discard some cards. So I'm probably going to chump block Neheb with Jeskai Elder here just to be safe. Because if we don't, we're taking 7. We're going to 3 life against a red deck. And red, even in the Tinkerer's Cube, is always going to have ways to just hit you for 3 damage. And the Jeskai Elder's never going to get an attack in now that they have that Golden Guardian. This also shuts off their ability to fight Neheb with the Golden Guardian this turn if they wanted to do that, but our field's all flying anyway, so it doesn't really matter if they transform the Guardian. So I suppose they're not planning on spending their mana on that. The biggest reason to make the block here is to not go to 3, because if we go to 3, we can die to like Skewer the Critics is in this cube, and I'm sure there's plenty more. Igneous Inspiration is in the cube as well. Lots of just red sorceries to deal 3 damage wherever you want, as always. Well, their pet is very loud. This little wolf. Who knew this one little wolf could make so much noise? So, this is basically their last turn to find a way to survive, or else they're facing well over lethal in the sky. So Synchromancer only triggers when our opponents discard cards, so we don't get to gain life by casting Chart a Course or anything. And only triggers on our opponent's creatures dying. So that's why we didn't get any life when the Elder died. Yeah, I mean, just a 4-mana 3/3 flyer is pretty decent, but the abilities on this are definitely a little niche. So it looks like our opponent did not find a way to survive through that, and that will lead us to 1-1 to start this event off, heading into round 3 now. Alright. Turn to Jeskai Elder with a bunch of cheap non-creature spells to trigger Prowess, and also just deal with any creatures they play, so we might actually get some combat damage off with old Granny here, the Jeskai Elder. Play our tapped land turn 1 here to avoid that life payment in the future. And then, again, as always, I like to play my pathways as late as possible so that I know exactly how many sources of each color I have that are locked into that color. So if I end up drawing like another island here, then I have 2 islands and 1 swamp, so I might as well play the pathway on black there to keep it even. Because our colors are pretty even in this deck. We've got double black cards and double blue cards, all that. Alright, well, just send in the attack, get a draw discard here. Should have waited on the land there, because I might have wanted to discard that. With an Unesh coming up, I kind of want to discard like Chainer's Edict. They're playing green-white, so they could definitely get some creature tokens. We have Deadweight and Consign to deal with their other early plays. And I'm going to cast Ornithopter of Paradise this turn to try to ramp out Unesh as quickly as possible. So I think Chainer's Edict is the discard. Although I guess it could be Deadweight. Because if they didn't play anything turn 2, they might not play any creatures until they're too big to die to a Deadweight. It's close between like Edict and Deadweight here. I'm going to discard Deadweight. We'll see if my hunch is wrong here. They might immediately play a 2 toughness creature next turn. But if they do, and they only play 1 creature, we can still just Chainer's Edict it, so it's not that bad of a deal. And then we could just pretend that we cast Deadweight on it instead. And discarded the Edict. So we're going to have 5 mana next turn, so we're only 1 land draw away from casting our Unesh, which is just a fun time for that enter the battlefield effect, making our opponent reveal a bunch of cards and separate them into piles for us to choose from. Basically just a big draw spell there. Your opponent has happened on a Glade to grab a couple lands here. Make sure that they have the mana to cast some big spells late game. But that means that we are not worried about anything from our opponent for now, and that also means Chainer's Edict's probably going to be pretty good in this matchup if they're just trying to ramp up into big spells. Chainer's Edict is going to kill 2 of their big creatures. Undercity's Embrace also probably good in this matchup. Literally just another Chainer's Edict. Go for the Jeskai Elder attack here and hope to draw into another land, because we do need it pretty badly. We just draw into a Pteramander. Kind of want to discard the Pteramander, to be honest, because I'm scared. I want to keep as much interaction as possible. But I guess, I mean, I've got a lot of interaction here. Probably discard Embrace and just cast Pteramander. Probably for the best. I just feel like I want to hold on to as much removal as possible. We have a double blue card in hand. We already have double black with Watery Grave. I'm just going to go for blue here. Now we have triple blue, so we could cast an Unesh and like a 1-mana blue card if something crazy happens. So Abzan Battle Priest here. It is small enough to get dead weighted, but we can just Chainer's Edict it. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I draw a land, this is the turn I'm going to cast Unesh. So I won't have the mana to Chainer's Edict here. Let's just consign that thing. Basically time walk them, make them recast it next turn. Multiple choice is the draw. Pretty great card here. But I am looking for 1 mana. Can we hit it? We can. Alright, so I'll discard Chainer's Edict now because we can flashback it. And then we're going to cast Unesh and hopefully hit some more removal there. If they just play a single creature next turn, we get to cast multiple choice, bounce the 1 creature they played back to their hand, and we're just really, really winning the tempo game here. So we did hit more removal. There's a Parasitic Implant in there. Let's see what the 2 piles they choose are. It looks like some lands, a removal spell, a draw spell. So I'm probably just taking whichever pile has the removal. Although I guess the draw spell's pretty good too. Yeah, they probably just put a land and a spell in each pile. Yeah, and we have to choose between all that. I'm actually going to take the Chart a Course here. Parasitic Implant is removal, but we do have enough mana to cast Chainer's Edict next turn if we need it. And if we don't need it, being able to cast multiple choice plus Chart a Course next turn is going to be huge. We're just going to draw 3 cards that turn and scry 1 and make a 4/4 and bounce their creature. Alright, recast Abzan Battle Priest. Oh, and a Thraben Inspector to go alongside it to kind of ruin Chainer's Edict or multiple choice is a good removal spell here. Well, still have just a bunch of damage in the sky with our flyers. So we kind of focus in on that here. It's going to cost 5 mana. We'll have 1 mana up after doing this. Yeah, they don't have any lifelink. Let's just get aggressive here. They're dead in 2 turns to these. So let's send them in. Draw a couple more cards. So their Abzan Battle Priest doesn't have lifelink, but it can put a counter onto itself, but it has to tap in order to do that. And when it does have a counter on it, it will have lifelink. So if they're like a +1/+1 counter themed deck here, they could throw some counters on their stuff to give them lifelink and then make a big lifelinking attack here. And Sparring Regimen will definitely do that. Now they get to attack with one of their creatures, untap it, and give it a +1/+1 counter, giving it lifelink, making them have enough life to survive another turn if they attack with that Abzan Battle Priest here. They grab a Inkling Summoning so that they can get a flyer to block with in the future. Foreboding Fruit might be able to find lethal here. They're going to be at 11, right? So we can just give them a fruit and they'll lose 2 life. Give them a nice poisoned apple. That might be the play here. If they have any other incidental life gain, like just instant speed life gain, or if they play another creature that gains a little bit of life or whatever, then we won't be able to kill them with Foreboding Fruit. But if not, that seems like a really fun way to close out the game. Force them to eat the poisoned apple. So I am very much hoping that they tap out here, because then I'll just know that the Foreboding Fruit will get there. If they don't, I'll be a little worried when I cast it, but I'm still going to go for it. Cartouche of Strength. Alright, well, they're gaining more life by fighting here then. No longer will Foreboding Fruit win the game. So we don't have enough mana to cast Chainer's Edict and Multiple Choice. We can only do one of the two because we just have the 7 mana here. And either one that I cast, they're just going to get rid of the Thraben Inspector. They'll sack the Inspector or put the Inspector back in their hand. Could make them discard 2 cards here with Oblivion. I think I want to draw some cards here. I might just Foreboding Fruit myself. Well, these are not the cards I'm looking for. A 4/4 on the ground isn't really going to help because this is going to turn into like a 5/5. I guess I could double block with Elder and a 4/4 on the ground to kill that. But it's not going to help like find lethal against them. Do we go for the 4/4 here? If I do that, I'm just like out of cards in hand, and then I'm just casting Chainer's Edict next turn. Could also just scry one, draw a card, or make them bounce something. If I make them bounce something, they bounce the Inspector. Scry one, draw one's probably not worth it. Probably just cycle Barrenmore and really fingers crossed here for something good. Nightbale Sprites, okay. It's more flying damage. Alright. I mean, we're still winning the race a little bit. Because we have 10 flying damage on the board and they only have 5 lifelink. They'll have 6 lifelink after another attack here, but I think we can win this race. So our opponent has gone to combat. I will assume the Battle Priest is coming in, and they're gaining 6 life, going up to 11 now. 11 life against 10 power flyers. Or I guess 13 life, I did the math wrong. Alright, I guess they're going to spread their stuff out here. It does gain them 1 more life than it would have otherwise. What have you got coming, opponent? We know they have an Inkling to play that can basically just chump block one of our flyers. Got 5 lands left in the 15 cards. Multiple choice scries and draws. I think we can hit some gas here. Did they just outlast? Wait, what just happened? What did they spend 2 on? I don't know what they spent 2 on. Oh, they sacrificed their clue token to draw a card. Parallel Lives. So now when they play tokens, they get twice that many tokens? That's terrifying. Okay, so we draw a great draw spell, Wizard class. So now, when they Inkling something, they get 2 of the 2/1 flyers. They're at 14 here, take 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We could play Wizard class here, but we can't make it big enough to start putting counters on stuff. I kind of like just slamming down multiple choice here, because like either they bounce Battle Priest or they bounce their only blocker, and if they bounce their only blocker, they take 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Not quite lethal, but we can get really close. Because then we can cast Wizard class after this for another prowess trigger. Hit them for 13 instead. So I feel like they bounce the Thraben Inspector here, because then they can recast it and get two clues. But again, if they do that, now they've got pretty much no blockers here. So we cast Wizard class as well for prowess, and we're hitting for 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So they're at 1 life. And we're at essentially 10 life because we can sacrifice our food token. And they pretty much have to find lethal here, or else just gain a ton of life. I mean, maybe if they can somehow double cast their Inkling summoning, just make 4 2/1 flyers, they could have enough blockers to survive another turn. But it's seeming unlikely to me. Oh, our Ominous Sphinx only costs 3 mana because of Unesh making it cost 2 less, so there's that Sphinx tribal there. We'll see what our opponents got up their sleeve here, but it's looking pretty good for us. In order to find lethal, they have to double their damage output and get a 4/4 out of the way. Alright, well, I am going to be blocking with the 4/4 here. It's not going to be a trade thanks to the Sparring Regimen, but it's still pretty important to not die to a +1/+1 combat trick here. There's just a lot of stuff that could get me. They do go back up to 7 from all that life gain. Sparring Regimen just taking names here. Especially because of the Battle Priest's lifelink ability. That's the part that's really getting them here. I think I've probably done about 40 damage this game. Pelakka Wurm to gain 7 more life. Oh, that's pretty disgusting. 9, 10. We can hit them for 10 in the sky, they just go back down to 7, and they gain 1,000,000 life off of the Battle Priest again. I guess they attack with the Pelakka Wurm itself, and that'll be an 8/8 lifelinker. Seems pretty dang good here. Cridle of Baldur's Gate can make something unblockable. Now I kind of have to worry about blocks here, I feel. $11 cards left in the deck. We are really drawing a ton of cards this game. Let's draw a couple more. Ooh, Herald of Anguish. Finale of Revelation shuffles your graveyard back into your library. So you just do it all over again, draw our whole deck again. Seems good. Can't do it quite yet, but in the future, should be great. Cast Cridle, cast the Ominous Sphinx. Oh, wow, this works whenever any Sphinx enters, not just Unesh. Okay, then. So the Ominous Sphinx gives us a big card draw again, as well. Alright, cool. Well, we have a boatload of card draw here, so I think now we just start trying to trade our stuff away. Get their board cleared, or at least just hold back all these blockers to where they can't attack in. So we get a Thrix and a Sangromancer, or we get a Hypnotic Spectre and a Whirler Rogue. I like all of these cards, but I will choose Thrix Sangromancer, I think. Just the bigger flyers. This has been a really intense game here. Just the sheer amount of life gained from the sparring regimen. Maybe I should have been holding off earlier to prevent them from attacking in and gaining that life. But I feel like I was constantly just like one turn away from lethal, or one card away from lethal. So putting on that pressure, felt like it was really close to being able to grab the win at any point there. But I mean, this will definitely turn things around. So Cathar's Crusade. So whenever they play a creature, they get a counter on all of their creatures. They play a Mother Bear now. Counter on everybody. Well, if they don't attack in, I think they're dead. Are they? I mean, I haven't actually done the math. 8, 9 plus 5, that's 14, yeah. If they don't attack, they die. If they do attack, we actually get to kill something here. So this is pretty good for us. Either way. I mean, I actually know. If they attack with Palak Worm, it's not great. If they attack with Battle Priest, it's great. And if they attack with neither, it's great. So if they attack with neither, they're just dead. If they attack with just Palak Worm, it's a 9/9, so we have to trade 2 things into it, which is not good. So now what do? We can get rid of Battle Priest to get rid of their life gain, which is definitely the play. But then what do we do about Palak Worm? Because if we take that damage, we just die. I think I have to just try to clear out their board here, but then they're going to get a million tokens and just destroy me that way. With the Inkling summoning. So they only kill one of those 2 if I block like that. They kill both my Sphinx if I block like that. But I keep my Sprite, I keep my Krydle, and I keep my Elder. So I have 3 blockers and they just have a Mother Bear out. And then I just like slam down, actually I Oblivion them to make them discard 2 probably. Slam down another blocker here. We could even play Sangromancer and then Oblivion to gain a bunch of life. Like this looks pretty bad on board because it's a really bad deal for me with how many cards that I'm getting rid of here, but we have so much card draw in this deck, in our hand, in our grave, all that kind of stuff. Like if we can just survive longer, we can draw a million cards, but we have to worry about their bonkers enchantments here of Parallel Lives and Cathar's Crusades, just always being able to pop off at any moment. So 4 cards still left in the deck. We're pretty safe to go for the Sangromancer Oblivion here. And I think that is what I want to do. We're going to be going for a big old Finale of Revelation finisher here, I think. So our opponent's at 30 now from all that life gain, but they're going to be out of life gain after this. Oh, and we hit real cards with our discard. That's excellent. We hit Out Muscle, a removal spell here, and Thraben Inspector. That's one creature down for the parallel lives. Alright, send in the Night Veil Sprite, but that is all. Throw that land in the grave. I don't want to draw it immediately because we've got one more in hand. We'll shuffle it back in with our Finale instead. I do really need to make sure not to forget to cast Finale of Revelation, because if I forget to cast Finale of Revelation before I cast other like card draw, I could get absolutely wrecked by my own hubris. So there's Inkling summoning with Cathar's Crusade out to make some big flyers here. Oh no, and Battle for Brettergard to follow it up to make them really massive flyers. Herald of Anguish is still just as big as them currently. Doing alright. We've got great chump blocks. We can make something unblockable every turn with Krydle if we have enough mana. Waker of Waves is kinda decent. They only have one card in hand, so I really like dropping down Herald of Anguish to get rid of that card, and then we have 4 mana after that. So I guess I can cast Thryx and Herald of Anguish, but that is it. For casting 2 things in one turn. Yeah, because Thryx makes Herald cost 1 less, so we definitely want to do that. Alright. Cool, and it was some kind of Planeswalker. Calyx Destiny's Hand to get rid of. I think Cathar's Crusade just gets us here. Unfortunately, blue and black just don't have any enchantment removal. And Core Skyfisher, which can bounce itself, they can just recast Core Skyfisher over and over again. Make their field absolutely ridiculous. That is really going to close it out here. Well, that is unfortunate. Yeah, this was a rough game in general. I feel like early in the game I was trying to get as aggressive as I could. Because it always felt like we were, again, one turn or one card away from just killing them, even through the lifelink. And then later in the game, it was like, well, that's just not working out because they have so much lifelink, so now we have to play for the long game, and then playing for the long game, it's like, well, they can just set up these ridiculous enchantments that blue-black has no way to deal with. So I don't know what would have been right there. I still feel like probably holding up blockers and trying to clear out their lifelinkers early in the game might have worked better in hindsight. But like that could still put us in the exact same position we've ended up in here, where by not putting pressure on our opponent, we just let them set up these ridiculous enchantments. So this was just a rough game in general here. I'm not sure there was a way to navigate this one to victory. Yeah, I mean, I'm done at this point. It is not worth the brain power. We can definitely survive multiple more turns here with the amount of stuff we have going on, but there's no way we can shut off their enchantments. So round 4 now, 1 and 2. See if we can't turn things around here. Slow hand, but we do have Ornithopter of Paradise turn 2, which is excellent to speed it up a little bit. Get that Ornithopter of Paradise out here. Ready to cast a Thrix turn 4 instead of turn 5. Ooh, Hypnotic Spectre. Perfect draw for this turn. Play our Barrenmoor tapped so we know that we get to cast Thrix next turn. Otherwise, if I play the untapped Swamp, sure, I get to hold the Ornithopter of Paradise up, but then tapped land, we only have 4 mana next turn. Alright. Here's Thrix, and let's start shredding their hand away with Hypnotic Spectre. Force them to discard a Soul Herder. Wow. Excellent card to force them to discard here because of the Priest of Ancient Lore with the good enter the battlefield effect. They seem to be some kind of flicker strategy here. Six cards in hand and 3 colors of mana for our opponent. Blue, white, and red. Their plan was definitely to cast Soul Herder there, because they did hit us with the nice emote when we got rid of it. And then they had to think a lot on what they wanted to do instead this turn. Portal of Sanctuary was the choice here, which is like a slower Soul Herder. They have to spend a mana to bring the thing back, and then they have to recast it with its full mana cost. So Portal of Sanctuary definitely not what they wanted to be doing here. Alright, just get some nice card draw here, and get our flying swings in, see what we make them discard. Teachings of the Archaics. It's a draw spell that only works if your opponent has more cards in hand than you do. It's a lesson as well, so if you have any cards that learn, you can grab it from your sideboard. Well, it is discarded now. Lore Hold Command. Pretty great card here. They're going to deal 3 to our Hypnotic Spectre, gain 3 life, and sacrifice the portal to draw a couple cards. I think I just level up Wizard class now so I can start upgrading my stuff, because I don't really want a Finale of Revelation until the Wizard class is leveled up. Because then we just go absolutely nuts, getting a +1/+1 counter onto our creatures for every card that we draw off of the Finale. Could be really good. And I also don't love casting multiple choice without being able to bounce one of their cards, but we still get a 4/4 scry 1 draw card, so multiple choice could have been the play there. But I like going for the Wizard class there. A little combo-y. And I guess all their creatures are stuff that they would want to bounce anyway. Could multiple choice and bounce our own creature to bounce our Thrix here. Seems like a pretty good deal. I think I'll go for that. And we'll do it pre-combat so we get the card draw to get another counter on our Ornithopter of Paradise to hit for 2 here. Undercity's Embrace seems fine to me. Can use that to kill their priest. Send in that Ornithopter of Paradise. Alright, end step here. Might as well Undercity's Embrace. I don't know, it's just a 2/1 on the board, so I can wait till they try to flicker it or something. Oh yeah. Alright, I'm so glad I waited on that. That was pretty incredibly in our favor, since we got to respond to their flicker effect. Alright, keep making this Ornithopter just chunky. Send in for 7, see what happens. No blocks, no spells, nothing. They take 7, go to 4. Cast a Night Veil Sprite and hold on to Thrix at instant speed. to cast during their end step, so even if they use a Wrath effect on us to clear our board, we can flash out Thryx during their end step and hit them for that final 4 damage. Seems pretty great. Alright. A GG from our opponent. Hornswoggle to counter Thryx. Well, we've got that lethal on board. Spell from Erazka kills the token, but the concession from our opponent showing that is all that they have. So they were actually pretty close to surviving. They had a lot of interaction there. The counter spell plus the removal spell for the token. Close to making it through that turn. Alright. Well, we need a lot more lands for this hand to operate, but we do have multiple choice. We can cast for 2 to scry 1 and draw a card to help hit a land here, so I'm going to go for it. Pretty bold keep, but multiple choice turn 2 is my plan to make it work. And our opponent starts with a Horde Robber, getting them a treasure token every time they deal combat damage to us. I am just going to cast multiple choice immediately here. We do hit another land. We'll keep that, draw it. And a Nettle Cyst is the play from our opponent. Well, our Undercity's Embrace is pretty much never going to do better, because Germ's always going to be around, so we're going to have to Undercity's Embrace just to stop a couple damage here. And kill a 0/0, I guess. It is a 0/0 that is equipped with +2/+2, so we stop some damage here and get them to spend the mana to move that equipment around again if they want to. Lolth the Spider Queen.
Envy the straw, a gift. In exchange,
Draws a bunch of cards, makes a bunch of spiders, does a bunch of planeswalker-y stuff. The spiders is what they go for here. A couple 2/1s, Menace Reach. They can throw a Nettle Cyst onto those. Things are looking pretty bad. Pretty bad for us here. And that's even though we hit every land this game. Our opponent just has a great aggressive start off of the Horde Robber, letting them cast the Lolth for cheap.
My words are for ambitious minds.
Five cards in hand. Deciding what to do here with their black-white deck. Heliod's Pilgrim is the play. Grabs an aura from their library when they enter the battlefield. Grabs a dead weight to kill the Whirler Rogue. We still keep the 1/1 tokens, so we can kill a spider here on blocks, I guess, but we can't kill Horde Robber anymore. So they attack with just Horde Robber. Yeah, this is brutal stuff for us here. Do hit the 5th mana for Thryx, I guess. That'll be the plan. Flash out of Thryx. But Lolth is really taking over this game. Gets the 2/2/1 menaces and then just turns into Phyrexian Arena, drawing them a card every single turn. They do have Nettle Cyst, making the Horde Robber a 4/6. We can't even kill it with Thryx at this point. But we can triple block it if they don't have instant speed interaction. Just about our only hope for stopping all of the treasure shenanigans from them casting multiple spells per turn, or making Nettle Assist even better by getting more treasures. Alright, we actually do get to get rid of the Horde Robber here at least, but that does give Lolth another loyalty. She can't do anything with it until she hits 3 loyalty at least, though. And Tabarak's Hope's Demise. A 2/2 flyer, whenever a non-token creature you control dies, put a counter on it. If it was a cleric, they draw a card and lose a life. Wow, our opponent is going to be drawing a million cards here, because now whenever Heliod's Pilgrim dies, they get to draw another card. Alright, well. 5 mana here. Cast Ominous Sphinx. I guess they can chump block if we attack Lolth with our Thrix. We just take 5 on the crackback. With Nettle Assist, that's 3 more. So we take like 8 damage here. Well, let's go for Lolth. The spiders have reach. Because of course they do. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't see that one coming. But, I mean, clear out a spider.
Subservience will be rewarded.
Let's cast our Ominous Sphinx here.
Go on, run! But we will catch you.
Lolth just keeping them fueled here, drawing more cards every turn. Archon of Sun's Grace, if they play another enchantment after this, they get a 2/2 flying lifelink token. Archon of Sun's Grace being one of the best constellation cards from Theros. Just creating really good tokens whenever you play an enchantment. Feed the Swarm to kill Thrix here. That actually does stop us from casting Herald of Anguish or Waker of Waves if we hit another land here, so that's pretty brutal. Well, Ornithopter Paradise, and then slap a Parasitic implant onto the Archon of Sun's Grace. So it gets one more turn to live. After that it will die and give us a mirror token.
I always reward the loyal.
Mind Rack Harpy, which is an enchantment for the Archon. Slap a Nettle Assist on it. Get a big swing out of it. The jaws of defeat are closing in quickly here. But I already didn't really expect to last this long against an uncontested Lolth. And our opponent's start was just very impressive.
Do what I demand.
Unesh is not bad. We could cast Herald of Anguish now, though, by improvising with a mirror. Or just by using Ornithopter of Paradise. Mind Rack Harpy is going to hit us really hard, even if we play Unesh. I guess then we could double block with 2 Sphinxes. I think I just go for Herald of Anguish. Get some discard off here to somewhat counteract Lolth. I mean, now Lolth just makes them draw and discard a card every turn, as long as we have Herald. Just got enough loyalty to make 2 more spiders now, though, so I'd probably expect that. And unfortunately, a Pest summoning to pick up Necrotic Fumes is just going to clear out that Herald of Anguish.
My power is for annihilation.
So I think we could technically potentially survive here if we cast Waker Waves, giving their whole field -1, but it's like barely. I guess, I mean, it's the last game. If we lose this game, it's the last game, so we might as well play it out and see if we do survive here. I actually don't think we do because of the menace.
I'll tell you a secret.
Yeah, no, we definitely don't. Even if the spiders are just 1/1 menacers, they're all menace, so. Plus, I guess they don't even need to be because we just already died to flyers because we can only block one flyer. We are mega dead. That'll be 2 and 3 for the blue-black deck there. There's some really good rewards, though. Get a Teferi's Protection here. Mythic rare from the Mystical Archives. So, that is going to end today's draft. As always, if you enjoyed these drafts, you can stick around, and there will be plenty more on the channel in the future. And, yeah, not the greatest draft this time around. 2 and 3. Definitely subpar. Always feels bad to do that, but not the greatest deck ever. Not a ton of synergy, kind of slow. So I think most of our, well, definitely the last loss was just a deck that got off the ground running and operating a lot quicker than ours could. And we just don't have a ton of like powerful synergies that start stacking together and doing ridiculous things, which is sort of what you want in the Tinkerer's Cube. So a bit of a basic deck this time around with not a lot of synergies taking over the game later, which means that our deck is definitely lower power level for this format, as we saw in the last 2 rounds that we lost. I don't remember the first one that we lost, but in the round that we lost against those powerful enchantments in the white-green deck, they just had a lot of crazy late-game synergies going on, and then that game that we lost as well, just a lot of crazy stuff going on, and I just can't keep up with a pretty basic card draw and removal style blue-black deck like we drafted. So I think we had a decent deck, but just definitely not a decent deck for this format. So in the future, we'll go for some more synergy decks as always. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you again very soon for some more Magic Arena.